Thank you so much for joining us here on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. Today is all about the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, and there is so much to talk about. And for the entire hour, I'm kind of in disbelief. I get the chance to spend the entire hour, as you do, with Dr. Rebecca Auer. Hello, Dr. Auer. How are you?
Hi, Sam. I'm great. Thank you very much.
You're an executive vice president with the Ottawa Hospital, but you do so much. So talk to me a little bit about that. Dissect that for me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm a cancer surgeon and then turned cancer researcher. Fell in love with research at the Ottawa Hospital. Fell in love with that whole discovery through translation to improving care. So really, that was a lot. So sort of running the organization, being an executive vice president, wasn't really something I thought I would ever want to do. Hadn't even considered it, actually. But when the opportunity came up and I got tapped on the shoulder by a few leaders, it just started to think about it. And, you know, one of those things where you can't put it out of your mind. And so here I am.
And we've had the chance to connect over a number of years, and I've watched your journey, and honestly, I'm just so impressed with the fact that, you know, you have dedicated your life to this hospital, you've dedicated your life to your patients, and what you do on a daily basis. I've said to you off camera, on camera, I don't know how you do what you do. How do you manage it all?
Well, like probably many of us, I often feel like I don't manage it all. But I think, you know, one is it's a passion project. You know, I like that quote by Simon Sinek that says, you know, if you do something that you don't love, if you work really hard at something you don't love, that's stress. But if you work really hard at something you love, that's passion. And so it feels good because I really do believe in what we're doing in cancer and research in general and at the Ottawa Hospital. And I have a great team. I have a great team at home. I have a great team at work. I have a great team at the Research Institute. So when people work together with a common vision, a common goal, it doesn't feel quite as insurmountable. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, no, I hear you. CreatingTomorrow.ca, of course, this incredible campaign to not only bring an incredible new campus to the Ottawa Hospital, but the research side. And I'm going to tell you, and I've shared this with you before, but I have to say it again, I think for me, when research changed, and when I understood the impact of research, is when research gave me my dad for another 18 months.
Wow.
So that's what research does. I think people think it happens in a lab and we just don't know what happens. It's a bit of a mystery. But when it's happening and it impacts people's lives and extending their lives, that's the research I want to talk about.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think what's happened even in the last 2-3 decades is that accelerated pace, you know, from lab discovery to something that we can try in humans to something that becomes standard of care and completely changes practice. That used to be, you know, a 20, 30, 40-year trajectory, but our pace of accelerated discovery is so fast now that trajectory is much shorter. And so we have all these incredible, very disruptive, in a good way, but therapeutics coming down the pipeline, and not just for cancer. Of course, that's where I'm most passionate about it, but for all sorts of really debilitating diseases. And so I often say, you know, research that's done here at the Ottawa Hospital, that gives patients hope today because they're getting tomorrow's care. If we let research be done elsewhere by other people, we will benefit, no question, but not today. Tomorrow, when those are tried and true. So for me, research is really, it's changing care every day. It's changed care since I started my practice. And I've talked about this a lot before. Research gives people hope, right? I'm sure that even that journey with your dad, just having that opportunity to participate in research, knowing that things might be different if that research works, that gives patients and their families hope, and it gives providers hope too.
And going through that with my dad, some days that's all you have.
That's all you have.
Yeah, all you have is the hope. So can we talk about the fact that this city is bustling? I mean, 1 million people, we're growing every day, there's so much happening. When some people, not me anymore, but when some people think about incredible world-class research, they think about Boston and New York City and places abroad, but it's happening in our city. It's happening right here in the capital. Do you think that surprises maybe an average resident?
You know, I do. And even though I think that message has been out there for a while, I do still think we kind of look at ourselves as we did, 20 years ago. I mean, I started at the Ottawa Hospital just as a trainee in 2005, so 20 years ago, with my first, with my MD, my brand new jacket. And,
I love it.
It was a great hospital then, but it's a different hospital now. And Ottawa, different city, right? Huge changes. And I think sometimes it's maybe a bit of a Canadian trait, I don't know, but we aren't, we don't necessarily recognize our own excellence. It's like, that it can't be that great because it's right here in our city. And if the exact same research was unfolding at MIT or Harvard, we would say, that's incredible. So I really do think we have niche areas where we are absolutely leading on the world stage. And that's not every area for sure, but we have those niche areas. And then really the bread and butter research that we do, it doesn't just change care here, but it's actually changing care all over the world.
It really is.
Yeah.
And attracting wonderful talent for you to work with. I mean, a lot of people choose Ottawa. First of all, amazing quality of life. Second of all, the Ottawa Hospital. Knowing creatingtomorrow.ca means we have this brand new campus coming. Do you and your colleagues get excited about what's to come?
Absolutely. I think, the new campus has built this sort of, it's almost a bit larger than life, and seeing the mock-ups and the pictures in the last, year has also been really, really exciting. I think it's a great place for dreamers because, the sky's the limit. And I would love to see, us reach our fundraising goal and build this incredible, completely integrated research and care facility. And I think, we do have challenges in healthcare in Ontario in particular, but across Canada, there's no question about it. But actually, some of what research is doing is addressing those as well. So there's a place for research all the way from discovery right through to how do we implement care? How do we do it better? How do we do it more efficiently, more effectively?
Well, I just think about the interviews I've done with brilliant doctors like yourself over the years, about CAR T therapy and immunotherapy and all of these wonderful opportunities for us to extend people's lives, the quality of their life as well. It's incredible.
Absolutely. And again, that pace of discovery is part of what's driving this completely different paradigm around healthcare. So the things you just mentioned, CAR T-cell therapy, was really only approved in Canada in 2018, and it was the first kind of completely disruptive cell therapy. And people who are treated with CAR T-cell therapy, for example, those with a type of leukemia, those people had a 100% chance of dying of their leukemia.
Wow.
And then they're on this Made in Canada clinical trial, open at the Ottawa Hospital, and close to 60% of those patients were seemingly disease-free. That is the kind of hope that is almost unimaginable. You kind of feel like you won the lottery. And that's just one example of the ways in which these disruptive cell-based therapies, for example, can completely transform care. And at the Ottawa Hospital, part of the new campus development is building a much larger, government-funded biomanufacturing facility that will enable us to really transform the way in which we deliver these biotherapies and cell therapies for all sorts of diseases. And again, not just cancer, things like autoimmune diseases and other diseases like that require regenerative type medicines. Really incredible. The future is so bright in that space.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember the moment that I was quietly told it was going to be $500 million, and I had a bit of a heart attack. I was like, and then I was like, no, this city can do this, actually. Because I knew that I really feel in my heart that every single person that's ever walked through the doors of any of the campuses of the Ottawa Hospital would know the value of that investment. So whether it's, myself as a single mom living in Richmond contributing, or families or corporations or individuals, I really felt everybody was going to rally around, and they have in a big way. But when I was told the $500 million included research money, well, that got me excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just it. Like, I love the fact that I often say, we're not audacious enough. We don't want it enough. We don't aspire high enough in some ways. And I think this is a stretch goal, but absolutely achievable. And we could just build a hospital, but then I'm not sure that we would be getting on Ottawa patients the best care, and even if you haven't needed to go to the hospital, or your loved ones haven't needed to go to the hospital, knowing that it's there, because you will need it when you least expect it.
100%.
And knowing that when you walk in those doors, you will get not only the standard of care, but the standard of care including research, and that next potentially level of care. That, I think, is what we all want, Knowing that something is available at Harvard just doesn't make it, it just doesn't resonate. You want it available here. You want to be able to access it when you need it.
And if the pandemic taught us anything, we definitely want it homegrown.
Absolutely.
Do you kind of drive by the campus? Do you kind of drive by and sort of, because I do, and I'm not a doctor. I drive by and I think to myself, oh my heavens, I cannot wait.
Yeah. Well, actually, we live pretty close.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I walk the dog around, and my kids are all like, "That's the new hospital." I said, "Actually, that's the parking garage." But
it's coming though. Yeah.
No, it is quite exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And one of the best things that I'm so excited about is the individual patient rooms. We only have about a minute, but from a doctor's perspective, to have an individual patient room, I think about how, because I had to spend 5 weeks in the hospital once, and I was with 4 other people, and I got to tell you, it did impact my recovery. So in like a very short period of time, tell me how impactful it is for you that we will have these incredible rooms.
Yeah, no, it's so wonderful, and wonderful for the patient and their whole family, right? Because most people can't, heal and recover alone. It requires all of us to help out. So having that space to do that, as a doctor, I certainly feel proud. Looking at the new design, I think, wow, I'm going to work here. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and not only work there, but you lead there. We have the whole hour with you today, which when I was told, I was ecstatic and still am. So we're going to have a chance to dive into a lot of topics today. So stay with me, okay?
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you.
And I know you're going to stay with me as well here on An Hour to Give. I'm Sam Laprade. We're talking all about the Ottawa Hospital today, the Ottawa Hospital Foundation, how you can participate, of course, in creatingtomorrow.ca. We're coming back with the amazing Dr. Rebecca Auer. Stay with us.
This program is brought to you by Rogers Xfinity, connecting you to more of what you love. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Hey, I'm Dave, and I absolutely love to camp.
Why do we do this? Why do we go out here? With the bugs, the bears, skunks chasing you, poison ivy, ticks, you name it. Why do we do it? Because we love it. I love it.
I wanted to take my passion for filming and the outdoors and combine them, and that's why I'm here. Maybe it's a mistake, I don't know.
You're watching an interesting local show on Rogers TV and you want to know more. That's when you head to rogerstv.com. Our website provides more information about our programs, our hosts, our schedule, and about how you too can get involved with Rogers TV. Visit us online at rogerstv.com.
After a night out with your friends, not having a plan for a safe ride home can leave you in a bad spot. You could end up riding in a police car, an ambulance, or a hearse. These unplanned modes of transportation can be a costly choice and do not take you home. Your plan could include a designated driver, a taxi, or public transit. Drink responsibly, choose your ride, and have a plan for a safe ride home.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more.
This is a brain in urgent need of mental health care. But because 3 out of every 4 Indigenous people experience racism in healthcare, she may not get the help she needs. Become an ally. Rise above racism in healthcare.
And we're back on An Hour to Give, and Dr. Rebecca Auer joins us today from the Ottawa Hospital. And we talked earlier about all the different roles you play, of course, at the Ottawa Hospital, Executive Vice President of Research and Innovation, and obviously surgical oncologist, which the conversations we've had about your role as a surgical oncologist have stayed with me. There's one particular story that I think about a lot. And it's a young woman that came into your care. Yeah. Can you share it with us today?
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about. And I have a photo of her that her husband gave me with a little quote beside my coffee maker. So I think about her mostly every day. Yeah, a young woman who had a rectal cancer, she was 43, I think, at the time of diagnosis, 2 little kids, and really, really anxious, and rectal cancer is usually pretty curable. I mean, certainly not always. And so she went through the regular treatments, chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, not an easy road by any means. And by the time you kind of get through all of that, it's about a year of your life, right? By the time recovering from surgery, you usually need a second surgery. And then very shortly after that, she phoned the office and said that she had some bleeding, and she was worried. She was on her way to Florida with her family, and they put that trip on hold because of the diagnosis and that. And anyway, I remember I said, I think it's nothing, but just so you can go on your trip and not be worried, why don't you come to Emerge and I'll quickly see you there, in a side room. And I examined her, and I knew right away the cancer had come back. And it was a pretty heartbreaking journey from there, and she did pass away after a tough surgery that where we really, had to remove quite a bit of her pelvic organs, and so really a very hard journey for her and her family. And I know she was really looking for research opportunities, and we didn't have any. And I really, it felt like if only we'd had something, maybe we could have given her and her family hope. But just such an incredible woman, died with such dignity and compassion. I think about her a lot, and reminds me why I do what I do, and also reminds me that even in tough times to be strong and kind and find your own power.
And it's such a sad story, but does it also motivate you to keep going on those days where it might feel a bit heavy?
Yeah, it really does, and many of my patients do. They're I've learned so much from my patients, just in terms of the grace and the strength with which they tackle their diagnosis and the treatments, that some of which are pretty hard, as you well know. I often say to my patients, all you need for today is joy and gratitude and hope and courage for tomorrow. And I think part of that hope and courage is often brought to bear from research, right? Patients are incredibly courageous, and they're willing to try, even in experimental therapy. And so it's our responsibility to make sure we give them those options so that they can have hope. And even if it's not a successful therapy, that journey is important. I always say the journey is more important than the outcome in many ways. And it honors their ability to make choices around their care. Yeah.
And you know, we often think about doctors, obviously you're busy, and we know the healthcare system has lots of pressures. But what I've always noticed about our time together, you know, in this kind of forum, is it's patient first for you. Is that how all doctors are? Is it just you? I don't see it with all doctors.
Yeah, well, I do think all doctors are patient first, but I think sometimes the system is really, it can really bring you down. And you know, it's a responsibility that we all have not to forget that the person in front of you, you know, the patient in front of you is a person. A person with a family, a person with goals and fears and hopes and dreams. Sometimes, you know, and I think this happened, I would say it even happened to me during COVID, just the constant change, the constant pressure at the hospital. It started to feel like I depersonalized some patients, you know, because it just, the pressure was so great. And I remember chatting with one of my colleagues, a wonderful surgeon, Amy Neville, and she said, you know, when I feel like that, the one thing that I make sure I do is I ask patients an unexpected question. Yeah. Like, what's your favorite TV show? Or, you know, what was the best vacation you've ever had? And she said, first of all, I've learned all sorts of great books, TV shows, vacation spots, or whatever. But it reminds me that the person in front of me, the patient in front of me is a real person. And so I think the system is hard right now. But I don't know, my experience with individuals at the Ottawa Hospital, you know, of course, most of them are colleagues and friends, is they do see that patient-first approach, and yeah.
For sure. And I see it with many of your colleagues, definitely at the Ottawa Hospital. The clinical trials, can we just talk about that for a second? We talked about how brave it is to have that put in front of you as an option. So from a patient's perspective, from a doctor's perspective, is it exciting to even have these options? Because a few minutes ago we were talking about there wasn't a lot of options for somebody. So is it both a little bit you're kind of sharing that there's this clinical option, hoping they'll take it as a way of maybe obviously learning, but advancing, you know, their lives?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak mostly to clinical trials in the cancer space, so that's where I'm most familiar with. Although the Ottawa Hospital is one of the largest clinical trial centers in Canada, and you probably know that. We have over 800 active clinical trials, so that is really impressive. But I can tell you from the cancer standpoint, there are so many new, exciting molecules coming down that sort of discovery pipeline. So most of the time when clinical trials are being offered, it's often the only access to a really novel therapeutic. Sometimes it's a therapeutic that just had shown some efficacy in other diseases, sometimes even in that disease. Sometimes even it's a clinical trial that's sort of bridging the gap between a product that's already approved in another country, for example, for that disease, and not approved in Canada yet. So those types of clinical trials kind of bridge the gap and allow our clinicians to learn about the drug. It allows our patients to have access to the drug while we go through that approval process. So I think I would say the greatest motivation for physicians in offering trials is offering their patients an option that they otherwise don't have. There are other trials too that are very much around, you know, what's best for the population. Can we, for example, de-escalate care? Like, do we need radiation, or is surgery and chemotherapy enough? I'm thinking about that. We had a trial like that in rectal cancer that actually was just recently published, and in fact, in some cases, you know, we can get rid of radiation. In some cases now, we're even able to do radiation and chemotherapy and not do surgery, which is huge for some patients who would otherwise, you know, not have to have a bag, you know, a colostomy for rectal cancer. So, and in every disease site, there's all sorts of examples like that, where we're really trying to understand from a population perspective what's the best care. And then there is also clinical research studies that really allow us to understand, like, how are we measuring the best care and how are we implementing the best care. So really, clinical trials can go everywhere from brand new molecule, first time in humans, and we do those trials too in Ottawa, all the way through to, what's the best care for a population, or can we switch out A for B and either have less healthcare expenditure doing that, or do patient outcomes get better, that kind of thing.
Yeah, really interesting. World Cancer Day on February the 4th, and I think this day is always one that's so important because it's bringing awareness, but also I think celebrating the research, celebrating the advances, the advancements of cancer research and cancer treatment. How will you mark World Cancer Day? Yeah, well, I think for me, I've often said, and I think this is particularly true in cancer, that research is care. And last year I actually had an op-ed in the Globe and Mail on World Cancer Day, sort of articulating just that we really need to see clinical, especially in cancer, clinical research integrated, fully integrated into cancer care. I think that message is still so important. What's really exciting, and I think probably the biggest reason I threw my hat in the ring for the Executive Vice President Research and Innovation job was because the administration of the hospital, Cameron Love's leadership, they really believe that. They believe and support the full integration of research into care. That doesn't mean that patients have to participate in research. It means that we provide them the option. And we do everything we can to reduce the barriers so that we can allow as many opportunities to participate in research as possible. And then, again, it's a very patient-centered approach. Patients can choose what's best for them, and they do, And, I often think about when I first heard there was a World Cancer Day, I thought, what's this all about? But when I realized, and having lost my father at World Cancer Day, that it's also an opportunity to think, okay, I lost him 9 years ago, but think about how far things have come. And so that day I do he passed away on February 2nd, ironically. Wow. So they're very close together. And I do think he passed away on Groundhog Day, which is his humor would tell you that he would know that I would never forget that day, right. which is a fun memory of him. But I do think that it's a day for all of us to think about whether it's someone that survived cancer or lost their life to cancer, that we realize that we are making big strides in this city. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And across the globe. Again, like I talk about how technology has really changed this landscape, and I've given this example before, but I think it's a really good one. When you think about our ability to sequence the human genome, let's say in a tumor or in an individual. The first time we sequenced a human genome, it took 13 years. We did finish that in about 2003 and cost about $1 billion. Now, just sort of 20 years later, just over 20 years later, we can sequence the human genome in about 24 hours, and it costs about $1,000. That's incredible. Right? And that's just one example of how many things are completely transformed with our technology. Layer onto that our ability to use artificial intelligence to kind of dig through and understand that data. Amazing. We are in an unprecedented opportunity of therapies. Yeah. So I think the future is really bright. There's a lot of hope in cancer and many other diseases. Amazing. It's always so hopeful to spend time with you, and we're not done yet. We're going to come back on An Hour to Give with Dr. Rebecca Auer from the Ottawa Hospital. Stay with us.
Welcome to Community News and Events on Rogers TV Channel 22. I'm Josh Rackless with a different kind of winter activity. Ottawa's Caravibe Winter Carnival is set to warm up the season with vibrant Caribbean culture on February 15th at the Schenkman Arts Centre. Events include the Rum and Food Festival from 2 to 10 p.m., the Caravibe Comedy Showcase headlined by Trix, Jay Martin, and Jean Paul from 4 to 7 p.m. It's a 90s Ting Day party from 6 to 10 p.m., followed by the Bam Bam After Party going into the wee hours. Celebrate the richness of Caribbean traditions with a unique blend of music, dance, and mouth-watering cuisine. Caravibe Winter Carnival is the perfect winter escape. Visit schenkmanarts.ca for full details. To have your community news or event listed on our website, please go to rogerstv.com and click on Events, then post your event. That's it.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Today, I helped a senior find transportation to an important medical appointment.
Today, I helped a new mom find virtual programming so she didn't feel so isolated.
Today, I helped someone understand new government supports.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
CreatingTomorrow.ca is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to make an impact in this city. And I'm so proud. I'm going to put up my hand, say I'm a proud donor to this campaign because it means so much to me. And it's because of great talent like Dr. Rebecca Auer. Are you excited about this building? I mean, let's just talk about what this building will mean in terms of research even.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited about the new development. First of all, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, you can't not be excited to imagine walking in there, and I'm super excited about that. Also excited about the fact that, you know, it's a green building, so it's really sustainable, and that is a personal passion of mine. At the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute, we're greening our labs. We have a big program regarding that. And of course, the Ottawa Hospital itself has a strong green program as well. So I think I love that. I love that there's kind of a research tower that is not really just a research tower. So it's going to have patient care embedded in it, physician, it's going to house physician offices as well as scientists. And I think this is really the model that makes the most sense, right? If you have patients and researchers and clinicians all in the same space, that's when you can really translate your discoveries from idea all the way through to changing care.
And what will that center be called?
I think,
is it the biotherapeutics?
Well, yeah, so the actual, I don't know what we call it, the research tower, which I just said isn't only research. Yeah. Within it will be the biomanufacturing center. So that will be one part of it. And thank you for reminding me, because that's probably what I'm most excited about, to be honest.
That's great.
As I think many people know, we got a very large federal grant, thanks to our track record and the strong work of my predecessor, Duncan Stewart, John Bell, and the support of the hospital, to be able to expand our manufacturing facility and be able to make therapies in that biomanufacturing facility for patients, both for patients on clinical trials and actually probably for patients just as standard of care. Made in Canada discoveries translated through the whole pipeline all the way through to clinical care. The federal money funds all the stuff inside, all the infrastructure inside, but the building itself requires the philanthropy to actually put it up, like the box, the shell.
And I think too, I think everybody here in Ottawa should be able to drive by and say, I made a gift to make that happen. Yeah. Whether it's $25, $2,500, $25,000, or $25 million, I think there's a place for everybody here.
Absolutely, yeah. And being able to kind of invest in that and then watch it be built, I think is fantastic, yeah.
And this once-in-a-generation opportunity, I mean, we think about the Civic, and for us, well, the Civic's always been there, right? It's like, oh, there, it's there. But we forget that generation made that incredible Civic, created the Civic for us to be cared for, and now it's our turn, right, Rebecca?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, again, like, the vision is so exciting because it is more than just, you know, the bare minimum we can do to look after patients. It is the best care we can achieve, the most cutting edge, the most innovative, the most technologically advanced. And I think that's what's so exciting. Like, let's reach, let's be audacious, let's have the best care right here in Ottawa.
And you've got children, and I have a daughter who's 17. Do you think about them when you think about this building, that, you know, someday you're going to be able to say, you know what, and you already talked to them about it, walking the dog, but, you know, like, think about them 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now. I think about my daughter when I think about that hospital.
Is that right? Yeah. You know, it's funny, I hadn't actually, but wouldn't it be wonderful if they came back to Ottawa after they do their various adventures? Yeah. And I mean, having that facility in Ottawa, I think, you know, again, like I said before, you never know when you're going to need the hospital. But if you know that the hospital that you have in your community is, you know, going to give you the best care you can get anywhere, there's a real sense of comfort there.
And I think it's, you know, also when we talked about this earlier, but attracting talent to Ottawa, and whether that be attracting students to come study here, so then they get to study close to home, right? I mean, and then obviously then we create this great talent that wants to stay in Ottawa, or we attract talent from all over the world who comes to Ottawa. So that's a really big piece. But if we've got the research equipment and the infrastructure for them, then they will come, right? They say build it and they will come.
And Cameron Love, our CEO, often says that, you know, that the best and brightest physicians don't come to Ottawa for the patient care. I mean, patient care is there for sure, and it's everywhere, but they will come because they want to offer their patients that cutting edge care, and often research is a huge part of that, or innovation, right? Whether it's technological innovation or therapeutic innovation, that's what they want. Right. You know, everyone wants to be able to offer their patients the best that's out there, the best that's available. And so being able to have that in our own city will allow us to retain and attract the best.
So we have a big number to share. Are we ready? So we're hoping to raise, and we will raise in this city, $500 million. And poor Tim Kluk, he's the president and CEO of the Ottawa Hospital Foundation. It does not matter if I see Tim at a hockey game or at the grocery store. I'm like, Tim, what's the new number? What's the new number? And so we have a new number to share today. And I'm going to get you to share the number.
Okay.
It's a big one.
It's a big one.
So we have hit a new total, and the new total raised to date is, Dr. Auer, tell me what it is.
$356 million.
$356 million raised in this city.
In this city.
For research, for the new campus, for creatingtomorrow.ca. It is remarkable to me. I mean, I've been following this story and hitting this brand new number and being able to share it today. I'm so excited.
Yeah. It's very exciting, but we're not there yet.
We're not there yet. So we need everybody, right?
We need everybody, and we need to believe that we can do this, and I certainly do. And we need to believe that we deserve this as a community, and we do. We deserve to have the best care here. We deserve to have the best clinicians and researchers and discoveries here in our backyard. We shouldn't be surprised by it. We should expect it. We should demand it. And we should be willing to invest a little bit in it.
I want to jump up on the biggest mountain I can find and have you tell the whole world that, because that's exactly how I feel. I'm so passionate about it because I really do believe in this city. I'm such a champion of this city. When I hear someone, you know, really, you are world renowned. When I hear someone talk like that from your perspective, I'm just even more proud to be part of this city.
Oh, I am so proud too, and I'm proud to serve in this role. You know, it is, it's incredible the things that the clinicians and researchers are doing every day, and they're doing them now, and it's just going to even expand and accelerate even more. And we are growing as a community, so we need to have the space and the opportunity to grow as a research institute and a hospital as well.
So take me back. You put on that white jacket for the very first time 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Would you have ever imagined where you'd be today?
No, I really don't think so. I mean, I think the reason, I know the reason why I chose to come to Ottawa as a resident was partly, quality of life, family. I knew that a surgical residency was going to be tough, and it was. And so I knew having family around was going to be important. And I liked the culture at the Ottawa Hospital. It was more collaborative than competitive. But like all things, it's a series of fortunate accidents that sort of end up, charting your way, and meeting John Bell, and I knew nothing about his research, knew nothing about him, but having an opportunity to do research in his lab, and being part of that community just sparked that interest for me around research, and I was kind of hooked. It was like I'd been bitten. And then I got the opportunity to go down to New York at Sloan Kettering, and it was an amazing learning opportunity, but I have to say that I don't think the care was that different at that time. Now, things have changed, I think, and the research has brought so many new therapeutics that, that's where the real change has been. It's in that cutting edge. It's in that availability of clinical trials. But at that time, really felt like the care that we were providing in Ottawa was kind of similar. Quality of surgical services. The wait times were longer. And then being able to come back and start a practice and have wonderful mentorship among the surgeons, and start a lab and have wonderful mentorship with the cancer researchers. It was just really a gift. So I've always been very grateful for that happy accident during my training.
Oh, we are too. So talk to me about getting in your scrubs. What's that like? I do a lot less surgery now that I've taken this role, and I have to say that surgery is my happy place. I was at a seminar the other day, it was like a workshop rather, and you were supposed to write down like, where do you feel most at home? And I wrote the operating room, because in some ways it's kind of, I think of it, I'm not a musician, but I have some friends who are musicians, and when they're sort of jamming, and they're in the flow phase of playing an instrument, and it just feels great, and the team around, everything sounds great and feels great. That's what the OR, not always, but that's what the OR can feel like, right? You've got your team around you, you're doing what you're trained to do, you know how to do. So I actually love the OR. And I love the fact that the phone and the pager are away. Right. No one can, unless it's really an emergency, no one can reach you. And so you're fully focused on the task at hand. And I'm definitely someone who can really get into that. Like, I can focus to the point where I have no idea that there are other people around, or that people have changed positions or anything. So I miss that. I love that. When I put my scrubs on now, it's a very happy time. I'm on call, or I'm going to the OR to do a case. So I definitely miss that a bit, and I miss the more of the patient interaction that I'm not having as much. But my mind is tackling different problems now. Many of them I don't have as much training or experience to tackle, so it's been a really steep learning curve for me. Well, we're just so glad that you're part of the Ottawa Hospital.
Well, thank you.
We're going to come back. We've got one more opportunity to chat with Dr. Rebecca Auer today from the Ottawa Hospital. Have you visited creatingtomorrow.ca yet? I hope you do. All of this great information is there about how you can participate in this campaign. Once in a generation. We're going to come back on An Hour to Give.
My dad was a railway porter. It was just about the only job a black man could get. But he had big plans for us. Music would be our ticket out of poverty. I knew we couldn't afford that piano, so I practiced twice as hard.
Nice, Daisy. Okay, Oscar, let's hear it.
Turns out, I wasn't half bad. Then I found jazz, or it found me. It wasn't all easy, though. I faced a lot of hate, but I found my stage. They call me the man with four hands, Well, I don't know about that, but let's see how far this ticket takes me.
From Montreal to Carnegie Hall and far beyond, Oscar Peterson became one of the most recorded and celebrated jazz musicians of all time.
Today, I helped a parent feed their family by connecting them to a food program.
Today, I helped someone connect with mental health supports.
Today, I helped a couple struggling to pay their bills access financial aid.
Every day, 211 navigators connect Canadians to critical government and community programs and services.
211. Help starts here.
Hello everyone, my name is Kwadwo Karamantang. I'm an ICU physician here in Ottawa, and I'm so excited to bring to you our latest show, Solving Healthcare with Dr. K. We're going to tackle some of healthcare's biggest issues, and more importantly, we're going to talk about ways to leverage preventive health. How do you avoid seeing someone like myself in the intensive care unit? And this show is exclusive on Rogers TV, so please tune in. You guys are going to love it.
Welcome back to An Hour to Give. I'll tell you who has 356 million reasons to smile, and that is Dr. Rebecca Auer. That is the big number, right?
That is the big number.
$356 million towards a $500 million campaign for the Ottawa Hospital Foundation. Talk to me about philanthropy from a doctor's perspective. I've always come at it from a fundraiser's perspective.
Right.
I'd love to know your thoughts.
Well, you know, from a doctor and then also from a researcher, and maybe slightly different.
True.
But I think, you know, philanthropy often closes the gap on things or starts the conversation on things, I think. So if there's something that we have some grant funding for, or some money or some investment, but we can't get all the way there, you know, philanthropy can sometimes put you over that edge. And then same with, you know, new ideas, new collaborations, new programs, new therapeutic areas. Sometimes it's hard to start that space without anything. You know, how do you apply for a government grant or for an industry contract if you haven't really got anything started? So I think philanthropy can really help in that space, and that's true for research too. For our brand new research investigators who are just trying to get their foot in the door and do those first few series of whether it's clinical studies or our bench research, that first sort of set of experiments that can then take you to that next level to get funding. And new collaborations are really important too. So bringing two completely different people together to try and tackle a problem. And often that can be the most innovative way to do it, but there may not be, you know, an obvious funding mechanism because this one gets funding from here and this one gets funding from here. So really thinking a bit more disruptively. And lastly, but very importantly, there are just some things that don't get funded in the system, you know, and we often hear, you know, Ontario Health saying, well, we don't fund research, and yet in my mind, research is care. And so being able to integrate research into care, there may not be research dollars to do that, but we've got to find a way to do that. We've got to find a way to ensure that patients have access to those opportunities. And so I think that's where philanthropy can also help with that base funding to make sure that we have it integrated in everything we do.
For sure. And I think when somebody stands up and says, you know, whether it's $100, $1,000, $1 million, whatever it is, and says, I believe in you, and I'm going to make this donation because I know you're going to do great things with the money that's going to turn research into care, as you've said so many times beautifully, I think that there must be some sort of responsibility there as well. You must feel responsible, but in a hopeful way.
Yeah, it's such a good point. You know, it makes me remember a patient that I've looked after for many years. He's had many surgeries for a cancer that kind of keeps coming back, but fortunately not so aggressive that, you know, of course it threatens his life, but we've been able to get him going for a long period of time. He has 6 girls. Wow. 6 little girls. And they all had a bake sale at school to raise money, and they came in to the appointment and they had an envelope and it even had, you know, dimes and nickels in it, and they were just so excited to be able to give this in support of the Ottawa Hospital. And I was just, the it wouldn't have mattered how much money was in that envelope. It was these 6 little girls who were just so excited about being able to give back. So it really doesn't matter what the amount is, whatever you can afford, but we got to make it happen. And like I said, we deserve this.
We do. I'm starting to use that language now. I'm using that. We deserve this. We deserve it. And whether it's 6 little girls having a bake sale, or it's corporations or families making that gift, I do think, and the Ottawa Hospital Foundation has done a fantastic job. Can we talk about that team for a second? Because they are working full stop.
Oh, I know.
All the time. I see them everywhere, and they're out trying to share this message, and they're doing such a beautiful job. But, you know, they've done a really nice job of making sure that everyone knows that they can participate. As much as we appreciate, and we have to have those big gifts of millions of dollars, if you have $1,000 from a golf tournament you're going to put together with your buddies, they're up for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think they do a fantastic job, and they're really good at conveying that message, at least from my perspective, from that, the importance of research and how philanthropy helps to fuel and fund that research enterprise. I think they do a great job. Yeah, it's so critical.
So critical, and you know, we've got lots to go. But we've got $356 million heading towards that $500 million mark. And when I think about philanthropy, I love to think about it as time, talent, and treasure. So people have given their time, they've given their talents, and they've given their treasures. So, you know, and I think there's a place for all of us can do that for the Ottawa Hospital. And, you know, I mean, I know that there's a lot of doctors that have stepped up, and there's patients that are stepping up, and I know a lot of people too that have had exceptional care at the Ottawa Hospital. This is their way of giving back. So it's almost cyclical, right?
Yeah. I think about that too. And you know, around Christmas time, physicians do get a lot of nice gifts, and it is certainly nice. But what is truly meaningful as a physician, I think, is when a donation happens to the Ottawa Hospital with your name, you know, sort of in honor of or thank you to, and that is just it's such a great feeling to know that the care you provided inspires someone to give back and pay it forward.
100%. So I can't leave today without talking about something that's really exciting that happened in 2024. The Women's Executive Network named you one of Canada's most powerful women. My friend, Dr. Rebecca Auer. I couldn't believe it. I was like, that's amazing. And of course, you deserve all the accolades. How did it make you feel?
I was shocked, for sure. Definitely felt a bit of that imposter syndrome. Such amazing women among them. And Lisa Laflamme was one of them and gave the keynote, so that was pretty exciting too. I think I was also really touched because it was my colleagues at the University of Ottawa, the Ottawa Hospital, the UHRI, who nominated me and put that effort in, and so yeah, I was also really touched by that and motivated to pay it forward. You know, I think we have incredible women at the Ottawa Hospital and the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute, not just clinicians and researchers, but administrative staff, lawyers, professionals in all sorts of categories that just really step up and are transforming things both in our organization and actually across the country. So I'm excited to be able to pay it forward and hopefully more Ottawa Hospital women on that list.
Absolutely. But I think it's a nod. You know, as the campaign is on, raising $500 million, we're at $356 million, those moments of recognition for someone like yourself also gathers people around the Ottawa Hospital and recognizing the great talent. So I think not only was it an accolade for you, but I think for all the hospital.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Time, talent, and treasure.
I love it. I've heard that before. I like it.
Yeah, you can steal that.
Okay.
I've got a few from you that I'm going to take.
All right, I'll take that one.
We deserve this. We deserve it.
And we do.
So let's wrap up. For somebody that maybe is just thinking about the Ottawa Hospital and thinking about this campaign, if you were going to head on an elevator 20 floors up, what would you tell someone about the CreatingTomorrow.ca campaign?
I would say that, having an excellent, not just adequate, but excellent hospital within your own community with access to research, with research fully integrated in your care, that will provide you the best care you could possibly want. And even if you don't need it today, you don't know when you or your loved ones are going to need it. And having that in your own community will provide you comfort. And like I said, we deserve that. We deserve to have the best care here in our own city. And we are just building on the national and international excellence we already have. Expanding it to more disease sites and accelerating that translation of cutting-edge discoveries and innovation into patient care.
Beautifully said. Your colleagues from around the world, what did they say about what's happening at the Ottawa Hospital and the plans, creatingtomorrow.ca? What did they say?
You know, I think we get more sort of accolades, I would say, more street cred from outside Ottawa than we do from inside sometimes. Yeah. You know, we are absolutely leading internationally in certain areas, and you know, the experts in those areas know that, and I think this concept of really ensuring that research is part of the care that we deliver. I think that's really important message that, you know, isn't necessarily socialized or part of the culture at other hospitals, but is increasingly part of the culture of the Ottawa Hospital. And to me, that is a new paradigm, that recognition that the best care includes research. Patients deserve access to research. And we have a responsibility to provide them those opportunities. And I think we're doing that really well at the Ottawa Hospital, and we have a ways to go, but we're getting there.
What does 10 years look like for you in 10 years from now?
For me or for the Ottawa Hospital?
For you.
Yeah, I think I would love to see the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute really emerge as like Canada's Institute of Health in a way. I think that concept of, you know, again, full integration of research into the care paradigm for the benefit of patients, for the benefit of society, understanding what is the best care, how do we implement the best care, how do we ensure that the care is the most efficient that we can provide so that our healthcare dollars can do more. I think that, you know, we could be that here in Canada's capital. I think that, you know, that concept of a place where experimental therapeutics can get into patients, Canadian therapies, Canadian scientists, Canadian doctors, Canadian patients. That's what I want to see.
What a beautiful way to end today. Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Rebecca Auer today, having 356 million reasons to smile, sharing wonderful stories with us today about her role as Executive Vice President of the Ottawa Hospital. Join and connect with this campaign. It's incredible. Creatingtomorrow.ca. I'm Sam Laprade. Thanks for watching.
Connect with us by visiting our website or email us at comments@rogerstv.com.
Every year,
Dozens of Canadians are killed or seriously injured because they take risks around railway tracks. Talk to your loved ones about rail safety. Visit stoptracktragedies.ca.
It's closing time, and you stayed out longer than you planned. So now you can't drive, and the buses have stopped running. You could always call your girlfriend. Or maybe your roommate? What about your best friend? You could just dial 1-888-TAXI-GUY or use the Taxi Guy app. The call and the app are free, and they both connect you to a local cab company